As you all know, earlier today there was a very significant fire at a homeless encampment at the 1100 block of East 28th Street. Our firefighters immediately responded to the incident. They were able to both put out the fire as well as prevent it from expanding. We've also set up our enterprise-wide emergency response team and make sure that we're fully coordinated in responding to this particular incident. Our firefighters, our police officers, all of our first responders did an incredible job, first to make sure that there were no fatalities. Secondly, to prevent any form of injury and protect property. Although there were a few minor injuries, for the most part, everyone is safe. That, at the end of the day, is the most important thing. You're going to be able to get a more extensive and detailed update shortly here from Chief Tyner. But I want to extend my deepest thanks and gratitude to our entire Office of Community Safety, headed up by our Commissioner and inclusive of everything to police, from police to fire. They did an amazing job here, and they were able to get people off the property, which was a very tenuous and difficult situation. I'll also note that both our enterprise and I has had deep concerns about the prevalence and size of these homeless encampments. When you combine open flame with all sorts of flammable materials, including propane, it makes for an extremely dangerous situation that can, at times, result in something like what we saw today. Now, there's an investigation that is happening. It is still an active site, and so we do not know the underlying cause of this particular fire. But what I can tell you is that homeless encampments, especially of this size, are neither safe for the people living there, nor are they safe for the residents in buildings surrounding the homeless encampment itself. The firefighters were able to prevent the fire from spreading to the adjacent buildings. Although there was some property damage, it wasn't nearly as extensive as it could have been without their incredible work. And so again, we all owe our thanks to them. They've been able to save lives, protect property. That's exactly what they're here to do. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Chief Tyner to provide more of a detailed update.
Good afternoon, everyone. We received a call about 12 o'clock this afternoon, 12:07 to be exact, to respond to 1105 East 28th Street, which was the site of an encampment there. When we arrived, the encampment was fully in flames. Crews responded quickly and started to put out the flames and put out the fire. It eventually went to a second alarm for additional personnel, and once we got everyone evacuated from the site, fire crews worked to protect the adjacent structures. We were able to protect the adjacent structures and keep any fire from getting into any of the houses that surrounded the property. However, there was some minor damage to the siding on two of the structures. The fire is now out. Crews have put out the hot spots. At this point, we've only had reports of 2 injuries. Both of those were taken a look at on the site and treated on the site. One was minor burns on the hand. Another one was for smoke inhalation. We don't know if any of those people were actually transported to the hospital. As for the people who were living in the encampment, we did call Red Cross to respond to assist those people in finding shelter. We also had Metro Transit provide a bus to provide a warming station for those residents. As far as the investigation on the cause of the fire, the mayor did mention that is still ongoing, and so we don't have a cause determined at this time. And with that, I will pass it on to our COO.
Margaret Anderson Kelliher, City Operations Officer, City of Minneapolis. And like the chief said, first and foremost, and the mayor said, we are very happy that there were no fatalities here. I mean, this is a very dangerous situation and no serious injuries. To offer support, you heard Metro Transit was on site right away with a bus that was available for warming. We also have our homeless response team, a member of our homeless response team at the site. Hennepin County's team is at the site right now. Vivo is at the site. A number of other community partners are at the site offering support to those who are living at this encampment. Our plan forward is to continue to partner with those community partners and our own homeless response team. We also will be fencing this site and removing the porta potties today. We are going to engage with an environmental testing firm to test the soil at this site after we clean it. Likely tomorrow, Public Works will be taking the debris out. It's important for us that this is not the best way for people who are in need to be living in an outdoor space, but we also recognize that we have an obligation to offer support, and so we are doing that. I think that we are open to questions at this point, and any one of us could take those questions, so thank you. We believe that about 50 people were living at the site. We don't know that. The encampment organizers did work with fire to evacuate the site as quickly as possible, and we are grateful for their work as well.
For Mayor Frey, before anybody, but obviously this encampment just keeps moving. What's your long-term solution to break this cycle of the encampment continuing to move to different locations?
The best strategy to work through homelessness in general is to provide housing. And as I've said many, many times before, the city of Minneapolis is providing deeply affordable and supportive housing at record levels, in fact, about 6 times the amounts of deeply affordable housing that we ever have before. Now, traditionally speaking, the city is really involved in 2 tasks as it relates to homelessness, and I'm generalizing here significantly. We subsidize deeply affordable housing, and we enforce the law. The social services organization, while we do provide some, the vast majority is the county. And we partner with the county to make sure that people get the necessary services that they need. Now, we've seen this many times before where a lot of times the underlying issue related to unsheltered homelessness is addiction and fentanyl. And so I'm not going to get deeply into this right now because, again, the goal of today was to provide you an update as it applies to this homeless encampment and as it applies to this fire, which could have killed a number of people. So there's not going to be any politicizing of anything here. But what I will tell you, and what I will reiterate, and I've said before, is that homeless encampments of this significant size are not safe. They're not safe for the people living at the homeless encampment. They're not safe for the surrounding neighbors. They aren't safe. And so what we are providing in both Minneapolis and Hennepin County are services to get people into shelter and then into stable and long-term housing. That's the route we need to be taking here. And the best way to get people into long-term housing, as we've seen, is not through a homeless encampment.
The 50 people that were at the encampment today,
Though,
is there a plan to get them into that shelter? Do you have a plan for those people?
So the number I believe was provided by some of the encampment organizers, and so we don't have a firm number on that. And we at the city have entered all sorts of contracts, including the $1 million contract with Helix, which was able to get over 100 people into housing previously. And again, the issue is not exclusively related to housing. There are all sorts of other very concerning things that we have, including addiction, that impact unsheltered homelessness in our city. And to deny that is just to not be based in reality.
Mayor, with all due respect, though, it sounds like some of these solutions are not working. There's some people who just don't want to go into a shelter. What about those folks?
So the question is for those that don't want to go into shelter. So again, we do have shelter available. We cannot simply allow large-scale homeless encampments that are unsafe for both the people living there as well as the surrounding neighbors. That does not seem to be a good short, middle, or long-term option. When we have shelter spaces available, and our team has been checking pretty consistently, we have had spaces available in our Hennepin County shelter system. Shelter is the right option.
So we get that.
Homes.
It seems like these shelters keep popping up over and over again.
I,
It doesn't seem to be a solution.
I think you meant homeless encampments.
Yes.
Was this group
What about, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. What about that? It just seems like we've had 4, 5, 6 of these things pop up. I know you guys are trying to work on solutions, but how do we stop this from going on and on and on?
So I believe I answered the question once already. I will a second time, though. We should not be allowing large-scale homeless encampments to form because they are not safe for either the people living there or the surrounding residents. We should be providing a continuum of care where we get people into shelter, and we've dramatically expanded our shelter system in Minneapolis and in the county. We then should be getting people into long-term and affordable housing. And we need to be looking at some of the root causes here. And there are a broad range of systemic inequities that go back hundreds of years, and there is the more recent prevalence of fentanyl. Fentanyl is a drug that takes a hold of people like nothing we've ever seen before. But again, I want to make clear, today is not about getting into that. With a culturally sensitive lens to make sure that people are successfully transitioned. It is working. And by the way, it's not an issue that the city can deal with exclusively. That's why we've got partners. We aren't the social service entity. We subsidize housing. We enforce the law. We've got an extraordinary health department that does wonderful work, and we've got first responders. But we don't have the full-on social services arm.
Was that group Helix there today, and did you hear anything from them if they were reaching out to them?
Please. Yeah, go for it.
I don't have the information whether Helix was there, but I know AICDC, Mike Gozzi's group was there on site, Agate was on site, Avivo's on site, as well as Hennepin County, our street outreach team, and the Red Cross is coming, who can offer immediate vouchers for a period of time in an emergency like this. So there is a lot of support on site for the residents of this camp.
You mentioned that they were there, but how many people did they actually make contact with? Because oftentimes folks scatter.
Yeah, well, so you can imagine this is a fast-moving situation. We have been very focused on the public safety aspects of this at this moment, and so we will have to get back to you on that from our reports of folks on the ground.
Can you say how long? I was just there. I came
Yeah.
later, but I just saw a few firefighters there trying to get them off.
There's more. I mean, Red Cross is mobilizing to go there now. Our street outreach person's been there for quite a while, so it's a single person talking to people.
How has that partnership been with Helix? Do you have any updates on it?
I don't have an update today other than, we know that they have been able to house over 100 people with low barrier housing. I mean, that's one of the important parts of their model, culturally specific in terms of making sure that the supports they are providing are culturally specific. They, they are a growing organization, and we hope that they can continue to expand their capacity.
We have time for one more question, and then there will be a press release that is circulated after.
This is a question for maybe it's Chief, the flammability of that. We saw a number of fires with chimneys, fires. We saw a lot of propane tanks. You could hear them. Some of the video that was posted. What was that situation like there, flammability? And it spread quickly.
Yeah, it was a very dangerous situation. Whenever you have that many flammable materials next to open flames, next to propane tanks, and that close of proximity, it makes a very dangerous situation. And what we saw today is kind of our worst fear when you have that situation. So, it's something that we look for. It's something that we try to avoid. We try to keep those areas as safe as possible. But the truth is that they're never really safe. So.
But how quickly did it spread from a fire beginning to just the whole camp on fire? Is there any way to quantify that?
I mean, the camp was pretty much on fire when we got there. So We didn't see it from the beginning to the end, but I can only imagine, given the materials involved, plastics burn pretty quickly. It spread really quickly, really quickly.
How long did it take you to put it out?
It didn't take very long to put it out. I want to say it took 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Help me out. The IC's right behind it. About 30 minutes.
Did we get lucky today? What if we had winds from yesterday today? Could the whole block have gone down?
We got very lucky, yes. Winds would have complicated the situation. Even if this would have happened in the middle of the night, I think we could have had a very different outcome. So yes, I think given those factors, that would have complicated the situation immensely.
Do you know if there'll be rocks placed over that site like the previous sites?
So our concern is the health and safety of the site right now, and so we'll fence it. We may temporarily put some material in there, and then, like I said, we're going to engage with an environmental testing firm as quickly as possible to test the site. Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Chief, did those propane canisters explode?
I don't recall any explosions. We did have some leaking, but not exploding.
And you've been watching a news conference in the city of Minneapolis with the mayor and fire chief talking about a fire that happened at a homeless encampment earlier today. Started around noon. 2 people were treated for injuries there, and it spread quickly. So it is something that they have to look at environmentally at this point. They just talked about fencing in and working with an environmental company to look at the safety of that site. But again, a fire at a homeless encampment around noon today in Minneapolis. The mayor and fire chief just addressing what they know about the site at 1100, the 1100 block of East 28th Street. We'll have more on this story tonight on our news on Fox 9 at 5 o'clock.
This is an all-day live alert.